Thank you. July 2018, the World Cup in Croatia was probably the most amazing experience I've had of living in a foreign country. I've never seen so much national pride, so much positivity, and even though I was an Englishman after the semi-final, even I was happy. I think it was amazing. We had 550,000 people on the streets of Zagreb to welcome home the World Cup heroes. That's one person in every 7 in this country. How many people here were actually there on the streets of Zagreb? Was anybody there? Yeah, you seem, actually most of you. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever been on the streets of Croatia to protest in a protest that got up to maybe 100,000 people? 2 people. Okay. The reason I ask is because what happened in the World Cup shows that we can celebrate positivity in Croatia in a very, very, very passionate way. But traditionally, when we look at Croatia, the only thing we tend to celebrate is victory in sport and obviously the homeland war and so on. But in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of business, this is almost like a dirty word. And if you look at where the Croatian positivity and success is celebrated, it's around the world in the diaspora, where we've got so many excellent examples of entrepreneurship, of success. We have $1.7 billion last year was sent back from the diaspora to Croatia. It was more than foreign investment coming into Croatia. And if you ask a lot of those diaspora about coming back to live in Croatia, the response you get is that it's a great place to come for a 2-week holiday, but it's a terrible place to live for 12 months because of the corruption, because of the communism, because of the nepotism, because of the emigration, because there's no jobs. I've been living here for 18 years as a foreigner. I think it's a fantastic place to live. And I think there are many, many reasons to stay here. And one of the big problems we have in this country, in my opinion, as a foreigner, is we have what I call the default negative Croatian mindset. Everything here is about complaining, and it is about pushing down success. Entrepreneurship is a dirty word. And I think if we started telling some of the positive stories that are happening with the grassroots around here, we would change the mindset of many, many people here. There are 2 real battlegrounds, I would say. One is the cafes of Croatia, where everybody spends a lot of time and there's a lot of complaining. And the rest of it is the media and social media. So one of the famous things is in the media, it's not what's in the article, it's kakvi su komentari. I work in the media for 5 years. This is the kind of stuff I have to deal with every single day. It's really, really negative, quite depressing, and this is just a cycle which just carries on. And so everybody has the impression that there's nothing positive happening here. One of my favorite quotes, which I think is very true, is a Croatian can forgive you anything but success. If you're successful here, it's somehow kind of like a dirty word. One of the best comments I've ever seen on social media was an article about Mate Rimac a couple of years ago on Index, I think it was. And it was another success story for Rimac. And the comment was, yeah, but it's easy for Rimac. Look where he got his money from when he started. And the comment was, if every single person who had money from wherever they got it in Croatia when they started did what Rimac had done, what a country we would have. It's just not possible to celebrate success. As a foreigner, I have a little bit of different perspective. I've lived here for 18 years. I was 14 years on Hvar in Jelsa, and now I live near Varaždin. And for me, as a foreigner, there are 3 stages of learning in Croatia. I call it love, hate, and nirvana. 80% of foreigners, I think, who come to Croatia experience just the love, because they come here on holiday as tourists. It's a beautiful country. And they really can't understand why people are complaining, why people are emigrating when this is the best lifestyle in Europe. The second group, I'd say is about 15 people, is hate. These are people that have fallen in love with Croatia. They decide to move to Croatia. They start to open businesses in Croatia. And then they start to learn about the realities of Croatia, with Uhljebistan and with all the corruption and with the bureaucracy. And ultimately, their relationship goes from a nice tourism destination to a really quite difficult place to live if you can't get into the right mindset. And then I would say there's a third group called Nirvana. And this is about 5%, maybe even less, of foreigners that come to Croatia. And this is a place it took me personally 15 years to get to. And this is a place where you've been through the love of how beautiful it is, you've been through the frustration of trying to do business here, and then you make peace with yourself, and it's accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and have the wisdom to know the difference. I put it a little bit like an alcoholic in Norway. So Norway is a great lifestyle destination, but the beer is really, really expensive. So you might buy a beer for 10 euros in Norway, where it would cost you 2 euros in Croatia. But because you want to live in Norway, you accept that you pay this tax, this alcohol tax. And I look at it here in Croatia very, very similarly, that now, rather than complaining about the uhljebistan and everything, I have to pay something called an uhljeb tax for the lifestyle and for the wonderful life that I have here. And once I've done that, I've come through and I've got to my nirvana, and I live in the best lifestyle country in Europe, and I surround myself with really, really positive people. And trust me, there are thousands of really positive people doing amazing things in this country that nobody really knows about. And since I run my portal, Total Croatian News, we've been writing these kind of articles, and more people now are contacting us. And what I've found is that there are all these bubbles of positivity below the radar. People who've given up on being part of the state, but are going about their lives, doing their business, making nice profits, having nice lifestyle, keeping away from the system. And what's happening now in Croatia with Glas Poduzetnika, the voice of entrepreneurs, with all these new entrepreneurial things coming forward, is that these bubbles are starting to connect. And what I'm finding is the more we start to tell these positive stories, the more people are starting to think maybe there is a potential here in Croatia and emigration is not necessary. I decided on my Facebook to start a series on Total Croatian News called Successful Foreign Entrepreneurs in Croatia. As everybody's leaving, I wanted to send a message to people here that actually there were some foreigners coming to Croatia, and they were investing, or they were working, and they were starting things, and they were succeeding, even though it was just as difficult for them, if not more so. And when I put this on Facebook, the first comments I got, obviously negative, was, "I will eat my hat if you find more than 2.5 foreign entrepreneurs who will join this series." So far, we've had over 40 from Kenya, from Syria, from Argentina, all over the world, all with fascinating stories, all contributing to the Croatian economy, creating jobs, and enjoying the amazing lifestyle here. But it's not just foreigners. You look all over. There are just amazing, amazing, amazing stories here, many of them not being told. Here are 5 of them. Tokic car parts. Everybody's probably bought a car part from Tokic at some point. I went to visit them in Sesvete, and I wasn't the only one. The German Ministry of the Economy went to visit their factory to learn from them. They're now on the London Stock Exchange as one of the 50 most innovative companies in Europe. And to many people here, they're just a car parts factory, but they're actually really pushing the boundaries internationally. Last year, there was a Scenic Eclipse, was the last ship ever built in Uljanik with Croatian expertise. It was an award-winning luxury cruiser, polar cruiser, which is a new type of luxury tourism. They've now come back and decided to build another 5 ships worth 900 million euros in the shipyard in Rijeka. The Syrian I mentioned before, he came here as a student in 1968. He now has 4 businesses. He employs 829 people. His main business in Sveta Nedelja had a turnover last year of 250 million euros. Croatia has an incredible medical tourism industry, and very, very few people know that we have some of the best global excellence here, right here in Zagreb. Last year, for example, I was in Berlin with Ognjen Bagatin from Bagatin Clinic at the International Medical Travel Journal Awards in 2019, where he won the International Cosmetic Surgery of the Year globally award. And then we have a young guy called Ivan from Koprivnica, who's 20 years old, who is just one of the amazing stories that you never hear about, but you should hear about. He is a young guy, and one of my interns at Total Croatian News asked if she could do a feature story on him. He decided to start his own bladesmith company, making special knives, and he's doing really, really well. He's part of the American Bladesmith Guild. And this is what happens when one story of a really positive story comes into the Croatian media. It goes all over the place. He was in Jutarnji List, he was on national television. And this is just from one portal telling one story of positivity. And the number of people, even in his own town, had no idea that such a thing existed. These stories are all over the place in Croatia. And rather than just having this negative cycle, if we can start thinking about celebrating the positives, not in the same way as we did on the streets of Zagreb with 550,000 people, but maybe somewhere along that path, we'll find that there is a lot more opportunity and a lot more positivity and a lot more jobs to be created here. So one of the things that we do on TCN, Total Croatian News, is we write about all these entrepreneurs, all these small businesses, and one of the nice things that's happening is that they're starting to connect through the portal. So we have this really good Romanian couple who make nautical jewelry, and they've expanded quite nicely, both with shops and online. And then they read about Andrija Čolak and his new franchising business, and then through the portal, and then I made the introduction to the two of them, and now they're working together. So these are just little things. I'm just one small portal, but if we can get this message of positivity and opportunity and start growing this ecosystem, we're going to create some really, really good connections which are going to benefit everybody. But it's not just writing about business. We're also very positive about pushing this country forward. One of the things that I've been, with several other foreigners, very active about in the last 12 months or so is the potential of digital nomad tourism. There will be 1 billion remote workers by 2035 around the world. And a lot of them are looking for great lifestyle. They're looking for somewhere to earn their money online and then switch off, go for a swim, enjoy authentic experiences, great wine tastings, good tourism, good nightlife. Everything we have in here in Croatia, we have the best lifestyle in Europe. And now we have a situation where more and more people work in the same office. It's called the internet around the world. And there are only two differences in the office. One is connectivity, 3G, 4G, 5G, and one is time zones. And apart from that, we're the same. A lot of people want to go home when they leave the office to their village, where they're from, with their friends and family. And a lot of others want to go home to lifestyle. If Croatia has the best lifestyle in Europe, and we have more and more mindset-changing people, wealth-creating people who want to come home to lifestyle, why can't we completely reorientate our thinking to accommodate this really, really amazing new opportunity, which is not destroying the coast like this mass tourism does at the moment, but it takes people all over the country. I have a digital nomad from Denver, Colorado, who spent 6 months in Osijek as a single woman. She said it was one of the best places she'd ever lived. It was safe for a female, it was affordable, it was great English, good internet, amazing people, great things to see, great nature, food and wine, everything. And then we've got thousands of people leaving Osijek because there's no opportunity. So if we can start telling these positive stories and get more of these mindset-changing people into Croatia, it will start changing the mindset. And when we start changing the mindset, we can start changing the system. So I've been writing about digital nomads for over a year, as you can see here. In May, Jan de Jong, who spoke yesterday, the Dutch entrepreneur from Split, called me and he said, I'm speaking at a conference on tourism and I have no idea about tourism. Can you give me some hints? So I sent him 5 or 6 of my articles, including some about digital nomads, and he said, this is amazing. He talked about it at the conference. 6 days later, there was a big story in Slobodna Dalmatia. 6 weeks later, he wrote an open letter to Andrej Plenković. And 44 days after the open letter, Plenković tweeted that he was going to introduce a digital nomad visa to Croatia during the summer, 44 days. So this government can produce, Croatian bureaucracy can deliver if we keep pushing the positive stories. And what happens when we have something positive like that? Here's just one thing from LinkedIn I saw. Here's a guy who's now starting to believe because the positivity is coming through. And if we can keep pushing those stories, we're going to slowly, drip, 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 fight against this default negative mindset, which is one of the biggest problems in this country, I think. Jan wasn't finished. He got into tomatoes. So he decided that he saw an opportunity to bring Dutch agricultural technology and Croatian land and workforce, and now they have a project together called Crop Croatia, where they will start growing tomatoes in northern Croatia, and they'll be creating 72 jobs initially, and with the potential to expand this quite dramatically. And as soon as he put this on LinkedIn, and we gave him some media support as well, but as soon as he put it on LinkedIn, within 48 hours, he had 5 million euros in investment pledges from around the world. So if we can start sharing the potential, sharing the stories, being positive, celebrating that success, this is grassroots stuff. This is not Remats, this is not Infobip. This is a guy making knives in Koprivnica. This is a Dutchman growing tomatoes in Slavonia. These are real things that we can do. Another thing that I've been fascinated by, and we need to celebrate this as well, is the battle between transparency and Uhlevistan. And ultimately, this is a battle that transparency will win, because transparency and technology are two viruses which ultimately will succeed. But we have the mayor of Bjelovar, Dario Hrebak, for example. I went to meet him, and the stuff he's doing there is amazing. I was in Sveta Nedelja last weekend. They have the most transparent government, local administration in Croatia, but also their numbers are phenomenal. Since 2011, the population of Sveta Nedelja has increased by 10%, as everybody else is leaving. Since 2017, when they took over the administration, job creation in Sveta Nedelja has gone up by 20%. Unemployment in Sveta Nedelja is now 3.9%. They're just about to introduce free buses throughout connecting to Zagreb. So these are things that are being done by transparent administrations, people looking forward to Croatia 2.0, and these should be celebrated and supported. And rather than saying everything is corrupt, we need to look for the seeds of change and to support them and to celebrate them. So I would say there are only two real problems in Croatia. One is the system, and one is the mindset. And we can't change the system like this, but we can go around the system, and with digital nomads, with celebrating successes, we can drip, drip, drip feed that mindset. And once the mindset is changed, then we can have a go at changing the system. And I would say there's a third problem, which I call the death of hope. And I think probably 80% of you listening today suffer from the death of hope. And that is that after 25 years of disappointments in this country about change, you're very, very skeptical that any initiative can bring change. And so I would say that every new initiative that comes in Croatia for change is met with, yeah, but, and it's more or less dismissed. So I would say there's probably even 1 million people who are about here in terms of wanting change but not believing it. And if we can get that 1 million people here, that they start to believe, then that will be a tsunami of change. So think back to July 2018. It was an amazing, amazing time to be in Croatia. Forget the football, just the atmosphere, just the possibility, just the belief that things could do, how things could go. And then think about what you see today and see those small little seeds of positivity, of change, of entrepreneurship. Celebrate them, support them, share them, because that will grow into an ecosystem which will move this country forward. Thank you.